New York Jets trade rumors are heating up as we have more news about the biggest trade talk surrounding the New York Jets ever since head coach Aaron Glenn made some comments on the changing system for this New York Jets team, while another insider has mentioned the Jets have serious interest in a generational prospect who certainly is on their radar and would lead to a massive blockbuster trade, and we're going to break it all down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into things as always. And guys, if you are part of that 73% that's not subscribed to Jets Digest, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It really means the world to us. We're on that grind right now. You're getting multiple videos every single day. You guys do not want to miss out. But let's jump into the video. We have a lot to discuss, as Aaron Glenn made some choice comments recently, and they were not at all negative, and I think most Jets fans actually agree with what he was saying. However, not all Jets players agreed with what Aaron Glenn mentioned. And just to take a look at these comments, and we did go over these comments once before, but Aaron Glenn said, I think mentally Breece Hall is in a good place. We have 3 running backs on this team that we're going to utilize as much as possible. They're all big men. They can all run. They're all violent. They're physical. Once we get the players in and see how they operate, I think every player is going to be happy about how they go about this offense, and Breece Hall will be one of them. And the reason that Breece Hall got mentioned specifically here is because there was a lot of talk about him being unhappy with the new Jets system that Tanner Engstrand, the new offensive coordinator, is going to run, which, despite being a run-heavy offense, is going to be a committee running back style. They're going to use all 3 running backs at different times, and it's going to be something that the New York Jets are going to look to keep doing as time moves on with this team. It's the way the modern NFL is moving now. You really don't have a bell cow running back. There's very few left in the NFL at this point. At the very least, there's usually 2 guys taking a ton of snaps, and we even saw this last season where Breece Hall did get the majority of the snaps, but we also saw a good amount of times Braylon Allen getting touches, especially as a third down guy, and the Jets were moving slowly towards that system. However, we did see the New York Jets now admit that they're going to use 3 different guys. They're going to use Breece Hall. They're going to use Braylon Allen. They're going to use Isaiah Davis if those are the 3 guys on the team. And there's a lot of conversation surrounding that they might not be. Now, we know Breece Hall posted that photo after hearing that he's not going to be the bell cow running back, of a monkey looking at his phone, smoking a cigarette in disgust. Like, just Breece Hall taking to Twitter, not being happy about it, which we've seen a few different Jets players do, which I know Jets fans do not like at all to see. Aaron Glenn has said before players are allowed to voice their opinions, but Glenn's definitely going to talk to all of them about this. Now, just diving in and looking at the way that the Jets are going about this, Zach Rosenblatt mentioned that the response could be taken in a few different ways. Either he meant what he said, Aaron Glenn this is, and he views Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis as good enough to share the workload with Breece Hall, who has been a workhorse for the Jets the last 2 seasons. Another way to look at it is that it was a challenge to Breece Hall coming off of a disappointing season relative to preseason expectations, and a way to message that nothing will be handed to him by an entirely new coaching staff, especially with the depth chart being written in pencil, as we all know. Or it was a sign that Aaron Glenn is not pot committed to Breece Hall, and that the Jets would be open to moving him in the right circumstance. Especially in a contract year, the Jets aren't expected to pursue an early extension with Breece Hall. The way that we know, because Darren Mougey came out and said as much, that the Jets are pursuing extensions with Garrett Wilson, with Sauce Gardner right after the NFL draft. Breece Hall was not mentioned here. Neither was Jermaine Johnson, the other top 2 picks in that draft class. That was one of the best top 4 selections that we could have seen being made. Shout out to Joe Douglas for pulling that off. And where things stood, it was very clear the Jets wanted to see more out of both Breece Hall and Jermaine Johnson. With Johnson, it makes sense. The man's coming off a long-term injury where he tore his Achilles as a guy who's really known for his burst and his speed as an edge rusher, so the Jets need to make sure that he's back to that guy before they commit a ton of money to him, considering they also have a lot of other areas where they're committing money to. Not only Quinnen Williams, who's on the defensive line, given you need to commit money to a defensive tackle and a defensive edge rusher, so there's that. But on top of that, a defensive edge rusher, like there's offensive edge rushers. But then there's also Jamie and Sherwood. Quincy Williams is due for a contract extension next year. Sauce Gardner's about to get his. Michael Carter is the highest paid slot cornerback in football. So the Jets have a lot of money to allocate to different places, and guys like Breece Hall and Jermaine Johnson, if they're going to get paid, they're going to have to prove that they're worth getting paid and that the Jets shouldn't just reset a contract by drafting someone new, which is something that we could see the New York Jets do after all. Now, Breece Hall has been a great player for the New York Jets. I mean, his first season got cut short after he tore his ACL against the Denver Broncos after running for an amazing just breakaway home run, but after that, he didn't play another game because he tore his ACL. He came back and had a solid season, missing out on a 1,000-yard rushing season by literally 6 yards, and had the longest rush of any player in football that season. So there is that as well. His receiving has always been good. He's shown to be a very talented receiving back as well, which gives the Jets more flexibility to use him in that role a bit more and have Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis on the ground more. I'm not saying that Breece is going to get less ground touches than Braylon and Isaiah Davis. I imagine Breece will still get the majority, but it will be close. It'll be that we're going to see the Jets run the ball 25 plus times per game, and it's not going to be like Breece Hall is passing 20 rushing attempts. He's not going to do that. He'll get like 15 max probably, especially considering they're going to use him in receiving sets. He's not always going to be that guy. They're going to have Braylon Allen. They're going to have Isaiah Davis doing that as well. So he'll be getting somewhere between the 12 to 16 range most games, I'd guess, if they're running the ball 25 to 30 times is my guess. And then we'll see Braylon Allen get a good amount, and then probably Isaiah Davis with a couple. Not as much as Braylon Allen or Breece Hall, but you never know. They're both Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis are year one running backs, or going into year two running backs, so you never know how they could break out. Braylon Allen had a good season last year. He had 92 rushes for 334 yards, 3.6 yards per attempt as a third down back mainly. He also scored 2 touchdowns, so a solid season from Allen, and the Jets do believe in him heavily. On top of that, Isaiah Davis also showed some talent with having 30 rush yards and 174 yards, which is 5.8 yards per attempt, which is a very good look. He also scored 1 touchdown last season as well. So both these guys are also guys that the New York Jets like, and well, with the New York Jets, they're going to use this committee running back style like most other NFL teams. Tanner Engstrand wants to do that, and especially with also having Justin Fields, they're going to run the ball a whole lot. This is not going to be a team that's going to be getting into shootouts, passing the ball for just all the world's worth of attempts. And what Matt mentioned last time around is the way that the NFL defenses are kind of moving. Running is becoming much more important once again. We're kind of having this running back revolution because the deep ball has kind of been stopped with the new way the teams are playing defense. So that's also something that's very important to note here. But you just look at where everything stands right now for the New York Jets. And Zach Rosenblatt is the newest insider to mention that if Boise State star Ashton Jeanty, considered one of the best running back prospects to enter the NFL, possibly since Saquon Barkley, is still there when the Jets are picking at 7, the Jets certainly would consider picking Ashton Jeanty and moving Breece Hall for draft assets. Not only do you get a guy in Ashton Jeanty who, well, I mean, he's damn near a can't miss, going to be one of the best running backs in the NFL in year one. It's basically a guarantee that he's going to do that. So if you're the New York Jets and you see, okay, well, Breece Hall is in a contract year, what if we can move him for more picks in this draft? I mean, you could probably land, if you're not getting a player in return, you could probably net a second rounder for him, which is what you picked him as. So you can get another second round pick. You could use that somewhere else. You wouldn't have to use it on running back because you picked Jeanty, so you could use it on an offensive lineman, especially a tackle. You could use it on a tight end, a position of need. You could use it in a few different defensive sets, like a defensive tackle, for instance, something the Jets could use another one of, though they do have a bunch of guys who can rotate next to Quinnen Williams, so I think that would be a bit less of a priority. I think they would look more towards guys who would be safeties, wide receivers, tight ends, or offensive tackles if they go Jeanty in round 1. We know the Jets do want to upgrade that right tackle spot as of right now. Right now, there's a few different guys who could start, but none of them are really starting level players, so we're going to see how that goes. I still do think the Jets will go offensive tackle in the first round, but there is a bunch of thought to maybe they do take Jeanty. Maybe they see taking Jeanty is worth it, because usually taking a running back that early is a risk, but when it works, it works. I mean, Saquon Barkley was picked 2nd overall, and I know he didn't win the Super Bowl with the Giants, but he was a key part of the Philadelphia Eagles winning the Super Bowl because he is one of the running backs, and there's not that many who could be a complete life-changing difference maker the way that Saquon can be, the way that CMC can be. So Ashton Jeanty's going to be right there with the best of them as well. And you look at the way Jeanty played in college, it was absolutely absurd. The man led his conference in rushes both in his sophomore and senior year. And I mean, he was insane. Like, literally doubles his rush yards after already leading in rush yards. He's been a generational prospect to put up 29 touchdowns on the ground and 1 in the air as well, finishing with a 30 touchdown season. Ashton Jeanty is 1 of 1, and he'll almost certainly just be a year 1 difference maker for whatever team drafts him. And will the Jets land him? He'll likely go to the Raiders right before the Jets, so it's hard to imagine that the answer is yes, but it is possible that he's around, and the Jets certainly would look to trade Breece Hall and land Ashton Jeanty and then try to cover more bases after that. Does that make a ton of sense? I think it depends on who you ask. I think there's a world where it could work out, but it is a huge risk. You're basically banking on Ashton Jeanty becoming a superstar running back because at the same time, Breece Hall is a damn good running back, and he knows it and has said as much, saying, everybody in the league that watches me knows I have the potential to probably be the best back in the NFL. And Breece is right up there with the best of them. Is he Saquon Barkley or Christian McCaffrey? No. Is he right there after those guys? Absolutely. He's incredibly talented. He can run for those home run touchdowns. He can receive the ball well. He's an excellent athletic specimen who's just very, very fast. There's a bunch to love about Breece Hall. And it was mentioned by Rosenblatt that Breece Hall was not the biggest fan of offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett's play calling tendencies, according to various sources, which shouldn't come as a surprise considering Hackett famously admitted late in the 2023 season that he didn't realize how good of a pass catcher Breece Hall was until halfway through the season. As far as last year went, Aaron Rodgers often checked out of running plays, which, coupled with the Jets' tendency to play from behind, is why the Jets have the fewest rushing attempts in the NFL. So there's a world where Breece Hall is just not too thrilled with the New York Jets. And on top of that, now with Hackett being gone and the entire previous regime being gone, they've been replaced with first-timers in Aaron Glenn, first-time head coach and first-time offensive coordinator Tanner Engstrand, who is expected to operate that run-heavy offense, especially after adding Justin Fields, as mentioned earlier. Glenn believes Allen and Davis too, in Allen and Davis too, and a big reason the Jets signed wide receiver Josh Reynolds is because his ability as a blocker, and it's the same thing why they want to keep Allen Lazard on a restructured contract. So all of this does add up to you're either going to work with Breece Hall or you're going to trade him for Ashton Jeanty, or not trade him for Ashton Jeanty, but you're going to pick Ashton Jeanty and trade Hall later on or right after so they can continue to build up and then keep making this run-heavy offense. And maybe the Jets think, all right, let's use Jeanty. Let's reset a rookie contract, and on top of that, run a run-heavy offense with a guy who right now is expected to be better than Breece Hall once he hits the NFL. So there's the argument there for it to make sense. But what do you guys think about it? Should they do that? Should they try to take Jeanty? Should they go with Breece Hall anyway? I'm kind of on the side of just keeping Breece Hall and using this 3 running back for him unless Breece Hall really doesn't want to do that. But that's the way the NFL is going, and he's not really going to get a bunch of opportunities to change that for himself unless he's just so good. There makes no sense to not run him the ball most times. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Jets.